And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Tonight's weather, weak front here, weakening front, and a weak low pushing rain in over the eastern Aleutians, back to about Atka or so, but Adak westward dry, and dry over the eastern Bering Sea, dry over the interior. Could be a few flurries up here over the northwest, especially from Brooks Range on out to the western Arctic coast, but nothing heavy at all. And moisture trying to push into the southern panhandle of this front that extends up, and about the same tonight as what we saw today for the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound into the eastern Kenai Peninsula, with some moisture into Kodiak Island. Then for tomorrow, that front weakens into a trough here, keeps it generally on the damp side for the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, the Copper River Basin, north into the interior and west, all the way into the eastern Bering Sea. Dry weather there. Areas of light snow and flurries, Brooks Range on out to mostly the North Slope, and especially the western Arctic coast here with that low right off the coastline. Mostly dry or dry conditions for the southeast coast. This front continues to weaken here right over the eastern Aleutians for periods of light rain, fog, and drizzle there, and dry farther to the west. And then for Monday, kind of a new front out here to the western areas with some moisture feeding in from the Bering Sea. So areas of light rain or snow for the Adak-Atka area there. Some shower activity possible for the Pribilofs. Periods of rain and a little increase in the winds here for the Alaska Peninsula due to this low here to the south of the area. Periods of light rain for Kodiak Island. Really no change for the North Gulf Coast with a lot of clouds over southern Alaska. Dry for the southeast coast. And for the coastal water forecast for tonight, Prince of Wales Island, small craft advisories, east winds 25 gusts 40 knots. Central coast, east at 20, north coast, east 20 to 25. Lynn Canal, north 25 knots with gusts of 40 knots, like around Eldred Rock. And for Stevens Passage, northeast at 15, southeast 20 for Clarence Strait. And for the day Monday, south coast, east winds 15 knots, north coast, east winds 20 to 25. Lynn Canal, Glacier Bay, Stevens Passage, north at 15, and a light northeast breeze for, for Clarence Strait there at 10 knots. And for the North Gulf Coast tomorrow and the Barren Islands and Kamishak Bay, east to northeast winds at 30 knots. Southern Cook Inlet, north at 30 knots. Northeast 15 there, Northern Cook Inlet. Same thing for Prince William Sound. And for the day on Monday, Prince William Sound, east winds 20 knots and small craft advisories for the North Gulf Coast. And for the Barren Islands as well, east winds 25 to 30 knots, seas around 10 feet. Northeast at 30 for the Kamishak Bay area. And still looking at northeast winds at 30 knots for Southern Cook Inlet, northeast at 20, north of the Forelands. Kodiak Island tomorrow, northeast winds 30 to 35 knots. Alaska Peninsula, east-northeast, 15 to 20 knots, and northeast of 15 for Bristol Bay. Alaska Peninsula for Monday, east to northeast winds there, 25 to 35 knots. Bristol Bay, northeast at 30 knots, and Kodiak Island, winds right out of the east at 30 to 35 knots. And for the eastern Aleutians, for tomorrow, east to south winds, anywhere from 25 to 30 knots. Variable winds 10 to 15 knots for Adak-Atka, all the way out to Amchitka and Kiska Islands, as well as Shimian 2. And then for the day on Monday, we've got Kiska to Shimia, east at 15, Amchitka Island, northeast at 20, Adak and Atka, northeast 25, eastern Aleutians, northeast winds 20 to 25 knots. And for the southwest coast here, we've got northeast winds in the forecast tomorrow, 20 to 25 knots. And St. Lawrence Island, northeast at 20, light north wind at 10 for Norton Sound. And small craft advisories out here in the Bering Sea, east at 30 knots for the Pribilofs and northeast 25 for St. Matthew Island. And for Monday, northeast winds 30 knots, St. Matthew, St. Paul, and St. George Islands. Northeast 25 for the Kuskokwim Delta Coast, Yukon Delta Coast, right on up into St. Lawrence Island, north at 25, north at 20 for Norton Sound. Chuck CC tomorrow, kind of a west to south wind at 10 knots or variable at 10. Western Arctic coast, light south wind, 10 knots. Light variable winds at 5 knots for the central and east side. And then for the day on Monday, still winds on the light side here, but more of a west-southwest direction for the entire Arctic coast. And the Chukchi Sea looking at variable winds at 10 to 20 knots.